Very unprofessional to be this late. I apologize. Something came up. It was hard to get through it. I didn't prep at all for this, so maybe you guys can get me on something. That's better. All right, the injuries for the game. We got Tatum Bethune will be out. Samo will be out. Nick Martin out. Yetur out. And Curtis Hork out. Go ahead.
McCaffrey's full go.
Yes.
Did he just have a bug yesterday, or is it something bad on?
I didn't really ask him more about it. I know he wasn't feeling well, but he looked good today.
Was Christian full go today?
Yes.
I don't know if you addressed this earlier in the week, but concern coming off a bye, you got a lot of rest, and you're ready for the push for the last few games. Concern this could be a quote-unquote trap game where you got a team that has nothing to lose coming in?
I mean, I don't really look at it that way. I mean, I think there's no difference in this game than the next three games, personally. I think when you come off a bye, it's always a challenge as a coach because your goal is that everyone gets fresher by resting, which is the best thing. But you also get extremely rusty by not practicing. So I felt that way early in the week, but getting to work in on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday of all full speed, getting walk through and base air half speed a day. I think you knocked the rust off, and then I look at it as a full advantage going into bye weeks now, following bye weeks.
Ferrell's put up some pretty big numbers the last month. Is he on a heater? Is he a late bloomer? Like, how do you explain what he's doing right now?
I mean, I think Cleve played at a real high level for us the last time he was here. I didn't study him too much, his year and a half at other places. But when he came back here, the first day of practice, he looked like the same guy. I think when you do get sacks and stuff like that, it brings a lot of attention, so that it seems like something drastically is different. But I think Cleve seems like the same guy he's always been. Real good player.
Your teams have a really good record after the bye through the end of the season. Is there any message that you send to them going into the bye or coming out that maybe gets them to reach another level?
No, I don't think there's really any message that anyone ever does that gets people to another level. I think practicing and working and getting better at things is what takes teams to other levels. So you hope the more you practice, which happens the longer a year goes, you hope you gradually get better at things by just working at it more. Now, as you do that, you got to overcome injuries and all those things. So there's so many setbacks. Bye weeks, allow guys to be fresher and not have to battle through so much injuries. But you try to motivate guys to work and things like that. But to me, it comes down to the work you put in each week and never thinking, hey, we're to November, we're through December, we don't have to practice now. Once you start practicing, you get worse.
Do you talk to Ricky when he's not getting the ball, or any player when they're not getting the ball, and remind him that you still have confidence in him?
I only talk to people when they're not getting the ball, when I know how much you guys are hounding them for not getting the ball. Those are the things that I don't need to tell a guy that. If I go up to a guy and say, hey, don't worry, I still have confidence in you. So when someone comes and says that to me, I'd be like, wasn't worried you didn't. What the hell happened? I hope my wife never tells me that for no reason. I think she genuinely likes me. So no, I don't do that at all. But I do feel for guys big time in this day and age and just how that stuff goes, that they got to answer to a lot of stuff and all about stats and everything. And this is a different sport. There's 22 people on the field, and stats get a lot of people attention in a good way, and they also get people the attention in a bad way. But when it comes to our world, the football world, and what we do in these rooms and watching film, there's no need for me to explain anything. He understands it.
A lot of your fast guys, Cowing and Watkins and Brandon Ayuk have not played this season. Does that have a big bearing on the passing game, on the whole offense, not having really a kind of a burner out there?
Yeah, the more speed on the field you have, the better. So when you're missing a lot of guys who can run, guys that you're possibly counting on, that definitely affects everything. And when you look at just some of the things you said as a whole, I think our pass game has done a lot of good things, numbers wise and things like that, and help us win a bunch of games. But it's not just offense either; it's defense also. When you're missing guys who can really run, that does have an effect. If you have all guys out there who can just fly around, but they're not that physical, then you'll see some huge effects otherwise. To be successful in this league, you need a little bit of everything.
As far as Cowing, is he back to full health? I mean, I realize that there's no spot for him on the 53 right now. But is he, or at least
As
close?
soon as he's back to full health, we'll open up his window. Yeah, so he's not quite there yet, but he's getting close. He's got to pass a few more markers.
How has Jordan James handled this year, really not being able to get on the field week by week, but trying to chip away in practice?
Yeah, I think he's taken a step forward these last 2 weeks. You know, I think it goes to, you say Jordan James or Jordan Watkins? All right, sorry, the J's confused me. They're both similar answers, but I think he's looked really good, going on about 6 weeks in a row right now, to where it's, you know, we have two guys really running the ball. We have Isaac, who is there if one of those guys go down, especially in like a third down pass roll, who does help at special teams. He kind of missed his window throughout training camp in the beginning of the season to really have one of those spots, you know. And then we trade for Brian, and Brian's, to me, like his last 7 games have probably been his best game 7 times in a row. I think he just keeps getting better. And so it kind of looks like I've been real pumped with him in practice. And it'd be awesome to get 4 guys up. But you're only using really 2 on offense. So it's got to make sense with the rest of the roster. And I think that's the tough thing about this league, because I'm really excited about him. I'm really excited about him on the practice field. And I would really love for him to get up, because he deserves to be. But it's not at the expense of someone else that's doing something at a high level too, and got to make sure it's the right thing for our whole team and our whole roster.
There was a report earlier this week that Robert Saleh turned down like a lucrative contract with the Raiders to potentially also be their next head coach down the line. But what does that say about him, that he wanted to come back to this organization, and then also his name's also now, you know, floating around there for a head coaching job?
Well, I mean, I think Robert had a lot of opportunities to be D coordinator. I think that was definitely one of them. So just talking through that whole thing, and he got close to, I think, a couple head coach jobs in the time too. So he was definitely our first choice, and we were hoping that we would be his, and that's what he told me early on. So I was glad he stuck with his word, or we would have had beef. But it's, I mean, Saleh's done a lot in this league, you know, so, and when you've done a lot, especially what he did here, but when you go do it at another place, the way their defense was in New York, that's a hot commodity. And the way he carries himself, to how he is, I hope for us he's not a head coach next year. But I also know when you have the talent that someone like Robert does, it's only a matter of time.
Seems like managing the end of the first half has gotten harder. Kickoff rule and the long kicks, scoring is up in the last 2 minutes, last 30 seconds of the half, even when teams get the ball in their own possession, in their own territory. You guys in Cleveland, how have you had to adjust the way you balance trying to score and score prevention at the end of the first half?
I mean, you try to do it the same way. It's just heightened because of the new touchback rule and everything. I mean, we've had, you know, since 2019, we started really trying to always finish with the ball in the second quarter. Our goal is to score, but not at the expense of giving the other team the ball last. That's been kind of our philosophy for a while now, and that's only gotten stronger now that, I mean, you score, but there's a minute left. I mean, we'd still rather score, but you know, them getting at the 35 as opposed to the 20 is a huge different deal. So you want to take a lot more time if you can. You don't just do it not to score, but you're not going to sit there and be so risky trying to do that because of how quickly you can get a field goal on the other side.
This isn't necessarily the best team you've had here, but given all the injuries you've had, is this the season you're most proud of as a head coach, personally?
No. I mean, I'm proud of a lot of seasons. You know, I was really proud of us having the second pick in the draft in 18, and being a 4-12 team, and starting 8-0, and being the 1 seed and getting real close to winning a Super Bowl in 19. I was really proud in 21, I think, I might be wrong, where we had to win like 5 out of the last 6 games to get the 7th seed and get us all the way to the NFC Championship with a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. I was proud of that. I was proud of our 23 team of getting down to our third-string quarterback and win 7 in a row to get the 2 seed and to go to Philly and have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. I was really proud of our 23 team going to the Super Bowl. I'm really proud of this team this year.
Kyle, Boyer seems to have a presence. Obviously, he's doing a nice job. What has he added to your football team this year? Do you see him as a future NFL head coach potentially?
I mean, I think Boyer's awesome. Love the guy. Was a huge fan of him as a player when he played. I love the question you ask him as a head coach. I haven't thought about it because he's like a professional fisherman and loves Montana too much, probably. But no, Boyer can do anything he wants to do. So, I mean, if that was something that he had ambitions for, I wouldn't hold him back for anything.
How did you hate the
Two more guys.
Did you hate the 2017 team?
No, I haven't hated any team, but when you go 6-10 in your first year, you're hoping that you can improve. And so, no, I didn't enjoy going 4-12 the next year, but I did enjoy getting Nick Bosa with the second pick in the draft.
Last one. Talk to me about how more difficult it is to get the team and the guys and the coaches to have that laser focus as the season wears along. Now you're in December after a bye. You've got to push through the last few games and hopefully get the number 1 seed, or at least the highest seed you can.
That's what I say the big benefit of having this bye in December is. I mean, no matter what, even when we were the number 1 seed and we're trying to maintain it back to 23. It seems like you're playing for everything, so you got the focus and stuff, but it's the mental stamina that you need to do this 7 days a week to prepare the right way just for 3.5 hours to be judged on. And all that matters is those 3.5 hours, but to be successful in those 3.5 hours, the focus you need for 7 days straight to give yourself a chance to do that 17 weeks in a row, it becomes a grind. I was talking about it before the Cleveland game that, you do all this stuff, but really everything that we work for since February is going to be decided over the next 15 hours. And that's what I mean by however you go 4 times 3.5, it should be somewhere around there. But that's really all it comes down to is the Sundays. But how much you have to work to stay focused, to have a chance to play at a high level there, and that's what gets exhausting for guys. And yeah, it was nice to rest our legs and stuff, but to be able to get away for 5 days or whatever it was, your mind's a little bit fresher, and when you can see 4 games right there to try to get to your ultimate goal, I think that helps a lot with your focus and things like that, and that's what I could kind of feel from our team a little bit this week.
End of half situations. So it's like 2nd and 8, and you'd usually pass, but you want to run clock, and so maybe you run, or maybe you wouldn't do that. I mean, have those kind of decisions where it seems a little counterintuitive, and you're balancing, clock now because you've done it since 2019? Is it more second nature, or are those still difficult?
No, to me, the difficult stuff is when you have a philosophy. But any philosophy you have isn't right 100% of the time. So you got to go against that all the time. You know how hard it was for me in the second quarter versus Cleveland going into the wind. First time in probably maybe my career, I can't remember, but we started with the ball, and I did it solely because we could avoid the wind in the fourth quarter, and we had that wind in the second quarter, and which means that that field goal range is the 25-yard line, and I'm trying to think of what are the odds of us going this far to get inside the 25. Throwing into the wind, which means we can't really go far down the field. We can't kick a long field goal. And so we're going to have to drop back to do all this stuff, and we're going against one of the best pass rushes in the league. What are you doing? Let's run the ball. And that's what I'm thinking. And then all of a sudden it's 3rd and 10, and I'm like, screw it, I'm going to try one. And Ricky makes a big play on 3rd down. You guys should give him more points for that. It was only one stat for you guys, but it was a huge play. And we get a 1st down. Then we throw one quick pass to Juwan the next play, and it's like, all right, screw it. And we throw a far one to George, and it gets caught in the wind, which is why you can't throw that way. But he does an awesome job, spins over his left shoulder, catches it, gets us to the 8-yard line. And then because of the wind, our kicker hits the upright and it goes in. And I'm like, I'm glad we tried for it. But damn, that could have been real stupid too. All you need is one strip. And I was like, what the hell was I thinking we could pull that off for? And so that's sometimes you got to go with your gut and know nothing's an absolute and live with the consequences.
Was Ricky number 1 in that progression and that double move?
He was. Yep. Usually it's a 2-hitch throw. In those conditions and stuff, it was a double move, so you can't get out of it quite as fast. And Brock was waiting, and he actually took 4 hitches. And it was an unbelievable route that it actually wasn't what I was hoping for, because the original route would have been open, and he still got him on the double move. But if you would have told me that he needed 4 hitches for that, I would have been like, is our quarterback all right? And our O-line gave him those 4 hitches. And so I'm like, all right, well, it must have been not into the wind, but it was. And so all stars aligned on that play, and that's what made it good.
One more, if you don't mind. Colton McKivitz seems like he's having a really good season. How much has he improved over the 6 years that you've had him, wherever it's been?
Every year. Like, Colton's been unbelievable. Colton's one of my favorite stories here. We cut Colton before. We didn't want to, but it was a roster thing, and he was at the end, and he was competing with another position, and we ended up cutting him and took a big risk. When you cut someone, you might lose them. And he came back on the practice squad, and I remember trying to get into the playoffs versus the Rams in Week 17, and we were thinking Trent was going to go because he did everything he could, or maybe it was the playoff game, I forget. Right before, Trent's like, I can't do it, and we just looked over to Colton, who had just come off practice squad. I'm like, you ready? And there was zero hesitation in him, and he always knew the game wasn't too big for Colton, and he went out there, played at a high level. I think the next year, I want to say the next year is when McGlinchey went, and everyone was wondering who was going to be our starting right tackle, and you still look for people in the draft, and if it would have fallen the right way, we possibly could have taken someone, but we did believe in Colton, that he was going to continue to get better because of the type of guy he is and the ability he has, and he has gone better. And I messed with him all year, but he called a shot and said he was going to be a Pro Bowler this year, so he better play like one, and I think he has.
Thank you.
Good? All right, guys.